everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Goosebumps Podcasts Can Be Murder. Today, I am your host, your ghostly host with the most bumps in the night, and I'm joined by two of my co-hosts. I have with me Senpai Josh, the anime boss, but you can just call him Josh.
What's up, y'all? How you doing?
And then last but not least, I have with me the Grinch.
Yes.
It's been a little bit. I'm sure those of you who follow the channel know I've been through a very traumatic event, so I've kind of taken some time to try to find myself again. Anyway, show must go on, and we're kind of back at it. We're a little late to our review of The Vanishing, but as promised, we're going to review The Vanishing. We're going to start episode by episode, talk about it, score it, and probably going to end up taking a break here at the 4th episode, depending on how long this runs. So, without further ado, let's get into Disney's 2025 adaptation of Goosebumps, written and directed mostly by Rob Letterman. You fucking dick. Alright.
Asshole.
Yeah, he ruins everything. Let's get that out in the open. Hashtag fuck that guy. Alright, so, this one, like the last series, is its own set place. It's not like it's following the 2023 series. It could be in the same universe, but it has not been confirmed. Personally, I feel like the last teaser, I know we're jumping to the very end here, which is, terrible of me, but the very little last cliffhanger that they always do, the twist instead of the ending that R.L. Stein always says, beginning, middle, twist. I think if the twist had done something to correspond with the kids from Seattle, or even just essentially Dr. Brewer could have got an email that was from, Mr. Brad, a.k.a. Justin Long. Something, just to connect them. I think just a little on-the-nose connection would have been nice. I feel like there was, to connect the two stories was a missed opportunity.
Yes, I agree.
That's way at the end of the line. Let's come back to the start.
I actually noticed something.
Sure, go ahead.
I was looking at the cast, and the guy who played the main dad character, or Mr. Brewer in the show, I didn't notice, but he plays the live action Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks. I just noticed that.
Wait, what?
He plays the live action Alvin in Alvin and the Chipmunks.
David Schwimmer is Alvin?
No, Justin Long. I didn't know that.
Okay, well, we're not talking about Justin Long, but anyway, back to the start of the series. So, like the last one, and I think they're doing this on purpose because, again, Goosebumps is 30 years old, and they're really fishing for those nostalgia babies. They want the people like my age who grew up with it. They're hoping that's going to be enough to lure them in and keep them going. So, we have a time skip where it starts out in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's in New York.
It seems like it, yeah.
I know it's in New York. So it's in New York in the 90s because it starts out with an opening song of the Beastie Boys. And you've got these 5 kids. We're going into an underground tunnel, which, who doesn't love urban exploration? I know I'm guilty of it. They're in there. The setting is 1993, which, that's when I was born. Ain't that crazy? And they're teenagers palling around. They're doing some dumb shit. They go into this very retro-esque looking lab. It honestly looks like something out of the 70s. It's underground, and they hear a noise, and there's this younger kid, which turns out to be the main kid's brother. The main kid's name is Maddie. That's the only name that really matters. But anyway, Maddie essentially catches his brother, which they call Stink. They never, ever do explain why that was his nickname. That's just what they called him. So,
I think it's because he rips through stinky farts.
I was thinking maybe because stinkweed, because, he likes plants. But okay, Josh has his opinions, I have mine.
I'm just making a joke, dude.
You're fine. So Maddie forcibly kicks Stink out because, and I can atone to this as an older brother, sometimes you don't want your younger sibling tagging along. As much as you love them, sometimes your friends are your friends and they need to respect that boundary. So anyway, we're at this underground lab, and after Stink knocks something over, he turns on a panel accidentally, or activates a panel, and all the kids are looking at it, and then this nice, really interesting hole in the floor opens up. This black, smog comes out. The main character, Maddie, comes back, and the smog literally melts him. It was, honestly, before we got into any of it, the cold opening was quite amazing. You kill the kid in the first 3 minutes, and then it's a graphic death. His fucking face melts, his skull's there, and then he just drops, and it's holy shit. So that was really cool. And then we cut to modern day. So now we're in the modern day. This episode's called Stay Out of the Basement, which, by the way, this series references, like the last one, 5 books. There's 5 books it's based around. And when I say based around, they're loose themes, as in like, hey, we're going to borrow from a few concepts and we're going to try to splice them together and make one really cool, long anthological story, but it's not really about them. Which personally, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this way, doing this again and again, I think is almost, it's not that it's bad, because it wasn't bad. That's not the right word I want to use, but it's almost insulting to the source material, in my opinion. Now, granted, this was a way better take than any of the other books were in the first series, but at the end of the day, it doesn't translate well, in my opinion. This is just, again, my opinion. I could be completely wrong. What do you think, Josh? Do you think the themes they tried to use throughout this series translated well from the books that they copied or took from?
I think some did, some didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that I truly enjoyed probably were, we're not getting there yet, but like Evasion, the Body Squeezers, I think they did pretty well. Stay Out of the Basement, and Monster Blood.
Grinch, do you think the themes translated well from book to series?
Yes, and I love how they don't have to rely solely on Slappy to keep the viewers watching. I love how they don't even show them at all throughout this season. It actually makes more sense.
I guess I'm just really nitpicky with it personally. Like I said, I think this series was done better, and maybe it was just because it felt a little more natural, if you will, in some places than others. But let's get back to it. So it's Stay Out of the Basement. We have David Schwimmer as Dr. Brewer, which I said this in my own review, but David Schwimmer is like Jim Carrey. He plays one character. You just essentially Ross or Dr. Brewer here is just David Schwimmer playing himself. Like, he's just that nerdy kind of like. It's hard to explain. Like, if you know Ross from Friends, you know what I'm talking about. Like, he's one character. Yeah. Just like Jim Carrey is the same in every movie.
He's almost like Marty in a way.
What's that?
He's almost like Marty too, from his role in Madagascar Star.
Yeah, you're right. Just he plays this lovable nerdy spaz. That's just what he is. His kids, which they changed the name instead of the kids from the book, which was Margaret and Casey. This time it's Devin and Cece. So we've already got a alternate universe break here. They live with their mom. The parents are divorced. This is different because in the book their parents are divorced, but in the episode the parents are divorced and their aunt, which they never named the aunt, so we're just going to say Eleanor, is having brain surgery. So we didn't find out what kind of surgery Eleanor was having in the book. We just know that it was surgery. So they kind of took that theme as well. But because of this, they're all staying in the grandma's house, who's now in an elderly home, while they spend the summer with their dad. So Devin and Cece are fraternal twins, which means they're born at the same time, but they don't look alike. So they have that twin energy, the twinergy, if you will. Once again, they're trying to be like that. There was a lot of music. I don't know if you guys noticed that. There was a lot of music that was like aimed towards the newer generation. It kind of gave me that MTV feel where it's like, as MTV got away from like music and it started showing shows like reality TV and bullshit like Jersey Shore, 16 and Pregnant, they would play a very short clip of a popular song at the time, put the artist up in the very bottom corner, and that would be like the music of music TV.
At least they don't try to promote that other song that has the same name as the show. AKA the original.
But they literally did, though, in the first series. So
yeah,
they're not repeating themselves. But shit, it opens up with Beastie Boys and then jumps right into $1 Million Baby. I mean, like, I don't hate it. I enjoy that song. I'm just saying. Anyway, so it kind of unfolds, the dad's awkward and stuff, and he's just like, I got one rule, stay out of the basement. But unlike the book, he is building like a plant-animal hybrid, but he's messing around with plants. He didn't get fired from the university, he's just trying to create like a new plant, or some kind of variation of a plant. So it borrows from that aspect, but essentially it's not like it was in the book where it was an evil plant clone that wanted to take over the world with plants. That's what I thought it was going to be about, but it was not. Josh, how did you feel about the twist? Did you think it was going to be like the book, or did you think that this new take on it was a decent turn?
I thought it was okay, but I thought it could have been a little bit more out there, you know what I mean? Like, I really wish we would have seen like Mr. Brewer at one point eating plant food. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Grinch, what do you think? Did you think that it was going to go this way where essentially he got replaced by a plant clone, or did you like the way they took it where he was always human?
I feel like, yeah, in a way, because I love the original episode from the original series from the 90s, but But I feel like this one feels more like a horror movie in a way.
We kind of get the introduction to the whole crew. Dr. Brewer takes his kids out for lunch, Devin and Cece. We get a little more information. There is one little meta joke hidden in there, which again, if you're my age, and most people my age have, you kind of veer to one of two things. Now, I do neither, but my wife did. You either veer towards Seinfeld or Friends. It's just kind of what you grew up with. The meta joke was essentially they were talking about a future, and the daughter uses the word pivot, but she puts it in the emphasis that Ross does from the show, which is like a legendary meme. So, a little meta joke for the old heads like me, or the unks as they call us. As they're at this restaurant, and even though there's plenty of restaurants in New York, this is like the main restaurant because this is where one of the families who is involved with everything owns. The main character we learn from this area is CJ, and he is the delivery boy. So now we have Devin, Cece, and CJ. CJ is inviting Devin and Cece down to the park or like one of the bays, wherever the place kids hang out in New York, because his other friends are going to be kicking it there. And so, you know, what do teenagers do but hang? We find out that some of the teenagers know them. CJ doesn't, but some of these other people know them. We also get introduced to Dr. Brewer's neighbor, Troy, who is he's older, he's out of high school, so I think he's in college. He is just your run-of-the-mill, average, pain-in-the-ass punk. Troy's whole thing is that he likes to park in Dr. Brewer's driveway because he had an agreement with Dr. Brewer's mom that she didn't care because she didn't drive. Well, Dr. Brewer cares because he does drive a Kia, which is definitely not sponsored, even though they keep showing the Kia up close with the emblem. Anyway, not product placement later. Now we got 4 characters down. We see Devin and Cece go to a convenience store. Devin's getting all nervous over somebody named Frankie, so I'm like, oh, okay, is this going to be a gay love interest? Because Frankie is usually a guy's name, but it's not, it's a chick's name, so okay, whatevs, no big deal. Devin now, that's our 5th character. So Devin's obsessing over this girl we've yet to see. Then we see a new character walk into the store, and her name is Alex. Alex is being told to GTFO. And while this is happening, Cece, who's supposed to be the Little Miss Perfect, is caught on camera by Alex stealing lip gloss. So now we've got our course 6 rounded out. We jump ahead to the park scene. There's an awkward use of the word bussin', which I hate that I just said that, but it was in it, so I gotta. Which I think, if I'm not mistaken, isn't bussin' like supposed to be like good for food? Like, oh, this is so bussin'.
It's really good, yeah, it tastes really good. It's really bussin'.
We have the group interacting. We find out that Devin and Frankie did know each other, but Frankie's dating Troy, which, oh, okay, there's our big first block. Rob Letterman shaved no time off at all here. He's just like, how can I rub teen romance in their face? Winkle, 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 winkle. Like, god damn it, dude, why? I said this in my own personal view. We did not need that. I guess you can put it in there, but we did not need that. Every fucking time. He's got a hard-on for writing teen romance. Like, bitch, why aren't you making the Fear Streets then? That can have teen romance. That's necessary. The group gets together and essentially talk about the Vanishing, which happened 30 years ago, where 5 kids went missing in the tunnels. And then we find out the main kid who melted in the beginning was Maddie, a.k.a. Cece and Devin's uncle. So they act like it's no big deal, nonchalant, and then Troy's like, all right, then if you're not a pussy, let's go check out the place where your uncle died. And Devin, wanting to impress Frankie because hormones, was like, you bet. And then they go. And then so Devin goes down into the same sub-lab where the kids melted. Presumably melted. Their clothes were all that was found. Which, side note, we do see that 30 years later, the clothes were given to Dr. Brewer. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't he open it and, like, the black powder essentially, like, kind of went in his face?
Yeah, I think so.
We're on the first episode still. He's down in the sub-lab where, like, the kids went missing. He's down there, and Troy decides to be a dick and cut the power line, which shuts down the whole area. And because the power shuts down for just a moment, the lab that...
A failsafe activates and opens up the...
Yeah, so the hatch opens up just a smidge, right? And inside it, we see Maddie. Now Maddie is standing there. So he fucking melted. And this is where my real complaints come in, and they're going to come in later, but he melted. He got potted, because we're just going to jump ahead here. He got potted, we know that. So he melted, and then he was not in the pod, and he was looking up all like tweaking demon as his eyes leaked black goo. And then the mist of death reached out for Devin and kind of got him, but didn't. as he hobbled away, because again, got to keep the plot going here. So Maddie's trapped down there is all we don't really get an inkling out of that. And then Cece rescues him, and yeah, so now we cut back to Dr. Brewer, who's investigating Maddie's clothes. He finds the same powder that melted Maddie and that got into Devin on the clothes. Here's what I don't get either. The powder makes his plants react. Like, that was weird to me. So, without him noticing, his plants start reacting to the powder, because maybe it has something to do with organic matter. And then the plants wrap his hands up, and then it's like they're trying to connect to Devin, which we do learn later kind of as to why. I say kind of because I don't really think it made much sense, but they're trying to reconnect with each other. The black mist that had gone into Devin is also in the plants, and now they're trying to reach Devin. So the plants force their way into the sewers through a small little drain in the basement. Then as Devin starts having like tinnitus and stumbles out because he can't handle like what's going on, the plants drag him into a sewer, tie him down, and then essentially mouth pod him. It's really gross, honestly.
Yeah.
He climbs out of the sewer, and he's got like no memory of what happened. I think that was part 1, right?
Yeah.
And then from that point, Dr. Brewer notices his arm has like these weird tendrils sticking out. I'm like, oh, look at that. He's part plant now. But that wasn't the case. So that was kind of episode 1, more or less. A lot of introduction, a lot of build up. It was a good episode. It unpacked a lot, but with this being an 8-part series, it makes sense as to why it unpacked a lot. While I grab a water bottle, Josh, tell us your thoughts on the first part of the series.
I was gonna do videos for it, but I decided not to. But my overall grade for the first episode was like a 7.5. I think it was a really good, I think it was a strong opening, but not like a great opening. I definitely think it could have been a little bit more scary to start off with. I did like how they didn't hold back and melt the kid's face in the beginning, the first 3 minutes.
All right, Grinch, what were your thoughts on the episodes?
I feel like, like you guys said, it was a very good opening, and I feel like Josh said, it's go a little bit more darker, because this is not the original Goosebumps, so they can have more darker moments, because they have more of a budget, because of Disney and all that. For the most part, yeah, I actually watched all the episodes in one night, if I remember correctly.
Each character kind of gets their own episode, more or less, in some way, shape, or form. So, in episode 2, there's a little more drama. Frankie and Troy end up kind of having a split. That's the real big thing from that one. Troy decides to get revenge because Dr. Brewer now has this gross thing growing in his arm. Like I said, we thought he was Plant Man now, but it turns out he just grew a bulb in his arm, which, as a scientist, hell yeah. But as a human, like, oh, fuck.
That's weird.
I feel like this is where they get sloppy again. They don't know what the fuck they want to do. I get that they're building up to the body squeezers being like the big thing, but at the end of the day, everyone who got potted or attacked by this mist or whatever the fuck it was, the goo, if you will, Dr. Brewer was the only one who had this happen to him. So why? There's no real valid reason except for they were trying to keep the mystery. Like, it felt like they were retconning shit as they went. He grows this plant thing in him, cuts it out. Turns out the plant eats meat, which, okay, reference A Little Shop of Horrors. I get what you did there, whatever. But like I said,
that was good.
Now he's a little more deranged. He's a little more like off his rocker. He smashes Troy's car up, or at least the window, which Troy got off light. Frankie's starting to see that Troy's a douchebag. Cece has this weird connection with Alex, and CJ is a avid liar. Like, that's kind of where we're at. CJ helps Devin go back into the sewer because he has this weird nightmare about how the plant kind of tried to take advantage of him. Dr. Brewer's trying to feed this plant more food, like, feed me, Seymour, because he wants to see what happens. Troy breaks into the basement where the plant's hidden, and after trashing the basement and taking a selfie because admission of guilt's nothing to him, he's pulled into the storage container, which is a freezer, and you're like, oh, cool, okay, this asshole gets eaten. And I was like, wow, we're still on point here. Keeping up the body count, Goosebumps. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. For now. Then Frankie goes in later, look for Troy into the basement, and this is where we get the reference. Once again, they're trying very hard to pay homage to the episode in the book. The book has the green hand. Frankie goes in there, and this is the next part where I'm a little fucking frustrated with it, honestly. Besides the fact that they played Taylor Swift's episode, which they're with the budget. But anyway, you see in the trailer, and even in like the still frame images for like, they'll watch this episode now, Frankie's in the basement, and that green hand is coming out from behind her. They purposely made the hand green with lighting, like through trick lighting, because it was not green, it was black. But anyway, Troy is now this amalgamation of black moss man monster. He just looks like the Elephant Man. And he's reaching out to grab her. And it's like, okay, so you paid homage to it, great, but what the hell? Like, I'm interested. He said, we got a monster now. Like, from what I understood, like, if this is where the body squeezing went, I would have been fine with it. Because, okay, they're turning them into monsters and they're now taking people to make more. Cool. Turned out that Ham was Troy. Troy takes Frankie with him to his family's auto shop and is trying to get Frankie to scrape off the goo that's melded to him. He kind of looks like a blacked out clicker, honestly, from Last of Us.
He does, yeah.
It was really, honestly, decent effects, and like I was thoroughly impressed. It looked a hell of a lot better than the Haunted Mask did if we're going like episode for episode here. It's weird because Frankie knows it's Troy, and Troy's showing human-esque emotions, which, you know, he's not a mindless monster. She can see that he's still in there. Then Troy and Devin get into a scrap underneath Troy's Oldsmobile, and Frankie just drops it on him, which, like, what the fuck? Smashing him into goo, which then seeps into his car, and that causes the car window to get fixed. So Troy has gone from boy to monster to now he's his car. Okay, I guess.
That was the weirdest transformation, I think, in the series.
I would have preferred, much more preferred, him, like, his spirit went to the car, but the goo went back to, like, into the water. You know, I thought the goo was going to become the monster blood, like, right then and there, like, him getting smashed. I thought his body would turn into monster blood, and, like, his mind would go in the car. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Same.
But that's kind of how episode 2 ends. Dr. Brewer comes back to find his house is trashed. He's got a whole dead-ass goat. And then, yeah, he's like, oh, shit, Troy busted into my basement because he finds Troy's clothes. And he calls the cop. Who turns out this cop is Alex's mom, the one that, like, went to jail. The one that likes CC.
Yeah.
So they're doing this little thing where they, like, lore build and world build, which, okay, I guess, whatever, they're hopping around. But this was more or less the episode Troy died, kinda. I say kinda because he doesn't stay dead.
You know what kind of remind me of? Christine or, like, Maximum Overdrive in a way.
Well, yeah, I mean, the haunted car was based off Christine. Like, that was R.L. Stine just, at this point, drawing straws for money. I'm sure if the Goosebumps series had gone long enough, we would have got our own version of Pennywise or It. Minus the kid orgy and Cum Compass.
Well, to be fair, we did kind of get a It.
Killer on Clown Street doesn't count.
In the Most Wanted series with the Clown Street one.
No.
Does not count.
Because in that one, the clowns aren't evil. Yeah, but in the book, it's not, the clowns aren't evil.
Oh.
My point being, if it had gone on long enough, we would have got a reference with a lot shorter bullshit. That's not important. What is important is, that was episode 2, Josh rated.
8.
Grinch?
7.
Okay. Alright, episode 3, The Haunted Car. At least they made sense of it being haunted and it wasn't just randomly haunted. Troy Mobile, Troy's missing, they're looking for Troy. Devin and Cece are kind of, you know, they're doing their own thing. Cece, this is more of the episode we kind of see her interact with Alex. We get Alex's backstory and why she went to juvie. Good person, good kid, bad city, wrong time, wrong place. Some asshole blamed her for arson and she didn't snitch, but at fuck street cred, if you're gonna fucking have my shit taken away from me, I'll roll your ass. I'm not going to jail. I'm not going to jail because your dumbass played with fireworks. You know, different strokes for different blokes, or Sheilas. In this one, Dr. Brewer, I'm pretty sure it might have been in the last episode, but if not, it's in this episode. Dr. Brewer takes the plant, like a piece of the plant he found from the sewer, like that, essentially the one that gassed Devin. He cuts it open and gets goo from it, which is now helping him, like, track the rest of whatever the goo is. Alex is out to find the guy who blackmailed her because she spotted him at the city and she knows he's close by. So she steals Troy Mobile, where she runs into Cece and then blackmails her. See how blackmail is just the theme of this episode? Blackmails Cece into joining her. Then they have this weird, like, connection moment where, like, they kind of feel for each other. Then Cece threatens to turn her in, but Alex, like, appeals to her, like, hey, don't be a dick. And Cece's like, okay, because I'm secretly gay. Sure, that's fine. They do track this guy down. Like, the big emphasis of the episode was they do track this asshole down. And essentially, he gets away. Then, as they're chasing him, Cece forces Alex to wreck the haunted car. Which, dude, driving into a light pole's gotta fucking hurt. That sucked. 10 out of 10. When they get into the wreck, Troy shoots out a black load of mist into Cece's kombucha cup because she's really into kombucha, which, Fart tea's gross as fuck, but whatever. You drink it, I guess. Now the black mist has moved to Cece's cup, which, ooh, it's going to be important later. I know it. Ooh-wee. Cece storms off, leaving the cup. The car repairs itself. So Troy Mobile's now alive. We're playing Toxicity again by System of the Down as he, swerves and drives really fast like a dickhead. The kid that they were hunting originally shows up in his own car and starts having like a chariot race with them where he keeps bumping them and stuff, playing chicken. And Troymobile knocks him off the road, sideswipe style, pits his ass, and then just starts gunning it for the edge of the island where it's going to jump into the water. So Alex emergency evacuates from the trunk. Troymobile jumps into the water, which makes no fucking sense. He just crush himself and then repair himself and kill her. So why he didn't do that instead? Whatever. Because, I mean, shit's been graphic, so, I could see that. But anyway, he doesn't kill her. She escapes last second, and then he goes and becomes Submarine Man and Black Goose his way back to, like, the island where everything started, because that's the hub, where the body squeezers essentially are trapped, which... Yeah, so Dr. Brewer follows the black goo compass, his own compass, if you will, down to the same area where Maddie died, and that's where he finds naked Troy now. So, okay, we know, like I said, we've already been over this, they're potted, right? When the goo returns home, they're potted. That's their whole fucking thing. So how the fuck did Troy get out?
That's always a good question.
That's my problem. By the time we get towards the end of the series and the rules are finally set with the body squeezers here, okay, so they take bodies, they assimilate people and break them down and then make them part of them because they want to take over, but they don't actually want to take over, they just want to escape. It just feels like 3 different people were writing this story and they weren't sharing notes. They were just kind of like, okay, I think this is what's happening. They go off of what they thought was happening. Because again, it melts people down, but Devin got away. It melts people down, but Troy was taken back but not potted. What? We saw how the ship reacted in the room. Anything that moves got fucking whacked. So, nunny.
Honest real quick, I did not like that ending.
No, I did not either.
And this is just me, okay? I would have rather had the kids that got lost just come back fully, and that's it. Don't have to readjust to society being gone for so long.
Well, that's the shit they did last time, in the beginning, middle, and twist, Dr. Brewer takes naked Troy, to the hospital, and he calls his cop friend, who's Alex's mom. Alex's mom gets her home before house arrest, gets her put back in jail, and it shows her with Cece's cup still full with the nasty, gross kombucha slime that definitely houses the black water mist now. So that's the end of episode 3. Josh, what were your thoughts on the haunted car? And then score it.
I didn't hate the haunted car, but I didn't like it either. So it's probably my lowest score, one of the lowest scores that I'll give this in this series, and it was a 6.5.
Okay, Grinch.
I kind of wish they went more darker, lighter scene in a way. They actually make a person, the driver, more crazy as it goes on. And for the most part, it's fine.
Like I said, was it bad? No. I feel like they're not really following their own rules or setting. Yes. And again, granted, Stein's guilty of that sin too, but it's different. It's a TV show, It's not a novel. Mm-hmm. But this is what happens when Rob Letterman
always change the rules to his series.
I don't know. This is what happens when Rob Letterman gets involved, unfortunately. Was the haunted car the worst take? No, I haven't read the original haunted car, but I'm highly certain that this is not how the haunted car goes in the book.
No, the haunted car is actually a lot more brutal in the book.
See, I can't wait till we get to review that one. Probably next year. Anyway, so now we move on to Monster Blood, the 4th episode, and this, in my opinion, is where the series really starts to time a nosedive. Like I said, State of the Basement parts 1 and 2, very, very solid, very good start, very enjoyable. Good job, you're cooking. Haunted car, Monster Blood. Monster Blood is where the series kind of starts to nosedive. It was the first one that was not even a base hit. I feel like they kind of struck out with it. And I feel like mainly because it didn't look bad, but it didn't look good. Does that make sense? That's my biggest gripe with Monster Blood. It's like
Oh, I got you.
There are so many monsters in the Goosebumps verse. The way they handled this one, lame. Gross and lame.
I agree.
Because again, what the fuck are the rules to this black shit? Like the black mist, the black goo. Sometimes it turns people into cars. Sometimes it turns people into monsters. Sometimes it gets in people's tummies and turns their stomach acid into this giant blob of grossness. Like, pick a lane. That's my biggest complaint. Like, I get it, don't think about it. That's what Rick would say. But at the same breath, my fucking God, like, pick it. You were fine if you just gone with the plants. I was fine with evil plants. Why the fuck are we jumping around so much?
I think it looks more like the blob who ate everyone more than Monster Blood.
Well, again, how it looks is not the issue. It's just, you need to pick a rule and stick with it. What's its form? What's it doing? Why is it becoming all these things? Why is it different for each person that interacts with it? That's the kind of shit that irks me. But in this one, we get a little background. Cece is really big into debate. That's her whole thing. She's a debater. Cece has her whole life planned out. She's a perfectionist, top tier student. Little Miss Perfect, if you will. Well, Little Miss Perfect didn't get into the summer camp she wanted to, so she's lying to everybody because she can't bear the witness to tell everyone the truth that she failed something. Which I'm sure a lot of people suffer from the whole perfectionism and trying to please their parents. So Cece takes the cup that was given to her by Alex, the cup she left that had the black water mist in it, because that's what I'm just calling it at this point. She takes it, and even though kombucha's been sitting in that bitch for well over 24 hours, she doesn't dump it out, she doesn't wash it, she just takes it to the kombucha bar, which, to me, that's disgusting, that New York has enough people who drink it that it has its own bar. Ew.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
Anyway, I'm hating, I'm 100% hating, just shoot me in the comments, I can hear it now, I hear you angry typing you fucking hater, you motherfucker, you don't know what you're talking about. Kombucha's yummy. Anyway, you like what you like.
They're probably drinking kombucha right now. They're typing that shit.
Pinkies up
I
like
wouldn't be surprised at this point.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes inside and she sees all her friends, and her anxiety is extremely high because, she has a standard in her head she has to meet, and all her friends are doing something. And to me, I think it definitely highlights something teenagers go through, the whole trying to be something you're not, or trying to be something people expect you to be. Her friends are all making big moves for their future. One's working on a book. Yeah. One's working at some kind of special program at a high school. One's been accepted to work on some study program for NASA. And she's fighting something supernatural-esque without even knowing it yet with her friends. So she feels like she's failing in that regard. Once they all start kind of talking, we get that zone out where the microphone pitch is tinnitus, and then they call her and oh, hey, Cece, your shit tea's ready. But again, she never washed it out, and boo on the kombucha place. This is dirty as fuck, and they're dirty because this guy didn't wash it out either. And instead of emptying her cup, at least if you're not gonna wash it out, empty the shit. He didn't do that. Yeah. He just poured on top. He married them. He put old on new, which ew. So Cece sucks down this disgusting shit, goes to this interview she supposedly has scheduled, starts having a nosebleed of black goo. It's oh, okay, so Devin got, Dad got, and now you got. Your whole family's been gotten by this thing. This family's been ran through by this black slime. So, we're at the point where Cece, has the same, she hears the tinnitus, and they also do this thing, and you see it in the trailer, where they all kind of start, freaking out, and their head shakes and stuff, and it's just, really lame ass effects. You can just tell it's an edit, but essentially they're crashing out or tweaking out, and while this is happening they lose time. It happened to Devin when he got pulled in the sewer. It happened to Dr. Brewer at one point. I can't remember if it was when he had the plant in his arm, but they all have this thing where they kind of just shake and stuff, and then it shows finally what happens. While they're doing this, Cece just gets up and walks to their mom's apartment. So she walks across town and doesn't realize she lost the time, so she's freaking out. She calls Devin. Devin's all right, I'm going to come to you because I'm worried about you. Then Cece gets sick and pukes up the kombucha, which is now this gross yellowy green mucus slime, aka monster blood, into the sink. And the puke continually grows and grows until it's a blob, like Grinch said.
I don't know about that. May I go with it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so the theory is the reason why it became monster blood is not only did it mix with whatever the black stuff mixed with the kombucha, but it probably also mixed with her stomach acids and probably blood that's in the stomach lining.
I kind of wish we had a reference to the evil cat lady from the original Monster Blood episode. Even just a mention of her would have made more sense.
All right, yeah, to go off what Grinch is saying here, that's another thing. So, and I get it, these are loose adaptations of the books, but dude, how are you going to take something that was based in magic and then try to turn it into alien science? That just squint. You know, when it don't work, it don't work. I'm just gonna say it, like, you know, and that don't work. So anyway, the monster blood is now chasing Cece around the apartment, trying to consume her, which is weird and gross because she puked it up and now wants to eat her. Anyway, it like pauses when it absorbs a lamp, and then we see this weird, shitty spark effects inside it where it hardens. So electricity hardens it. It does not like electricity. That's its weakness. Slime versus electricity. Electricity wins that one on the Pokemon chart.
I often say that, like, again, with acid, electrifying them, make them solidify and lose their acidity.
Okay.
So this is basically Dungeons and Dragons in a way, where the slime, like...
Lightning ball!
Yeah.
1d4 damage. 1d6 damage. Alright, so listen. Here's my next big complaint with the series. Frankie and Devin are coming to save her, right? We gotta come help Cece. Randomly, she gets in the elevator, which, bad move. If you're being chased by something, go to the fucking stairs. The elevator's never the answer. Evil Dead Rise should have taught you that. Anyway, she gets on the elevator, the slime follows her, then it starts to make the elevator fall, which, okay, she's dead. But she's not, because it just happens to stop at the random floor that isn't the ground floor that Frankie and Devin were at. Okay, Deus Ex Machina, I call bullshit. And they just happen to be there quick enough to pull her out before the elevator drops. I call bullshit. And then they all run off, and they're on the subway, and they're kind of comparing and contrasting notes about how, like, hey, Troy's in the hospital, and, you know, maybe Dad's behind this, because, you know, Dad was also at the hospital, he's the one who found him, and Dad's brother was the one who went missing, and blah, 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 blah. Essentially, they're putting together a theory. And mind you, while Troy's at the hospital, and Dr. Brewer's there, we see this old doctor lady who's just like, she's being weird. That's the only way I can explain it. She's acting really sus. And as she leaves, she throws her coat away, which is like, all right, you're going to be important later. Okay. So they get on the subway. They're heading back towards the hospital. And the monster blood catches up to them, which, shocker, you know. Cece realizes it's after her. It only wants her. So then Cecilia here jumps off the subway, which is hella dangerous, and starts running down the live wire, also hella dangerous, and happens to find like a broken part of the track where there's just live electricity, and she goads the monster blood into rolling over it, which kills it. So I just didn't enjoy the way they handled it. Honestly, I just did not enjoy the concept they used for it, and it just really kind of ruined it for me.
To be fair, I rather wish that they did the blob that ate everyone, because that made more sense as an alien than the monster blood. But the blob was made by a typewriter, so they could have used the typewriter in the episode and be like, and they can destroy it like Jumanji in a way where they just destroy it. You know what I mean?
But again, it goes back to what I said before. It comes down to this: magic versus alien science. I hate that.
Of course.
I
hate that that's what we went with. Like, pick a lane. I'm just going to keep saying it. That was Monster Blood. Josh, give me your thoughts on it.
7.5. In this episode, it gave me a bad taste in my mouth, but not as bad as kombucha taste.
There you go. That's a good one. All right, Grinch?
6, because I'd rather it be the blob, because they make more sense in a way.
Just like I said, it was very, very, very mid for me. And again, this is kind of where Rob Letterman's weakness at writing shows. And granted, I know he didn't direct every single one, but at the end of the day, if you're going to write me a super Goosebumps based story, which essentially is like 2 to 3 movies or 4 movies chalked into one, like, make it make sense. I hate that we don't know what's really happening with this stuff. We know they're body squeezers because we finished the series already, but we don't know what's happening with it. The rules change every episode. The whole thing is like they're just making each episode about a kid, which, okay, sure, I guess, but stupid. It started to really fall apart for me here. I didn't hate it. I did continue the series after this, but this was kind of like the point where I was like, oh, you're not as good as I thought you were. Like, you came out swinging hard, and now you're slowing down in the third round. On the first half of the series, let's go with some closing thoughts before we finish up part 1 of the review. Josh, give me your closing thoughts on the first 4 episodes of Goosebumps 2025.
They started off strong. It gets wobbly at around episode 3. It gets even wobblier at episode 4. Or, well, I know it picks up at episode 5 for me, at least.
Grinch, closing thoughts on the first 4 episodes?
Just like what Josh said, it started out good, and it got a little wobbly sometimes, but I'd rather watch it than the 2023 version of Goosebumps, to be honest.
Very well put. That's exactly what I would say. It had a really great start, a mid kind of middle, and it's better than the 2023 series. Join us next week as we pick up and review the last half of the series and talk about why they were doing too much, because they definitely were. If you guys enjoyed today's content, make sure you click the buttons down below, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and leave me a comment as to what you thought on the first half of the series. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you want another? Personally, if I had never had another, I'll try anything twice, and at this point I've tried it twice, and I think we're good. We just sometimes you need to let things die. It's like Call of Duty.
I just want anthology Goosebumps to this point, please.
I mean, yeah, we'll never get that because Rob Letterman just sits there and rubs his nipples like the guys from South Park. Ooh, I wish I could give you anthology, but I'm gonna give you a story.
You mean the cable guy?
Yep. Also, join our Discord if you want to tell us what your opinions were in the second half, because we're doing this next week. It's open to anybody and everybody. With that being said, I appreciate your viewership, and we'll stab you in the next one.